space in which you've opened up. Firstly, I'd like to just recognise the Aboriginal people on these lands in which we're able to share our stories and make the maps in which we do. Recognise the elders, past, present and emerging, and this is on unceded land, and here we are. I thought I'd begin by introducing everyone here in the space, and if you'd like to just tell us your name and a bit about your background.
Sure. So my name's Belinda Yee, and my practice is primarily in drawing, and I'm on the board, or one of the people helping to run Draw Space.
Melinda Hunt, also an artist, also somebody who draws, and there are 6 of us who founded this gallery, and I'm one of them.
Lisa Pang, I'm an artist and a writer, and also involved in the founding of Draw Space.
And I'm Chrystal Rimmer. I'm an artist working in experimental materiality, and I'm one of the artists that will be showing later on in August this year with Draw Space.
I'm not sure where I heard of when Draw Space was opening up, but it made me think of other cities around the world, and a few of them in London and New York all have a draw space. They have a drawing room or a drawing centre, and it's fantastic to hear that Sydney now has a space dedicated to the medium. I was interested in what prompted the choice of it being a specifically drawing focused space, and what kind of what was sort of the impetus in constructing it solely around this medium, if it can be just and only a medium.
Yeah, so I think what we're looking to do is to have a platform where we can have a conversation about drawing, but actually the work that will be presented is multidisciplinary. So Melinda started the gallery, so what was the impetus behind that?
So I've done a BFA and an MFA at NAS, and absolutely loved it, and had this space and just thought that this was an opportunity to give back to to the art community that I've loved becoming a part of. So we're in a sort of a good prominent position where there's lots of people walking by right now. So yeah, it just felt like a good place to put experimental drawing, and people are I think really curious, especially in Newtown.
Yeah, and I thought, like I said, it was so fitting that the opening performance would have a cross between a musical element and the drawing space being on King Street and such just part of the scene.
Yeah, we had a drummer for the opening night. We had Locust Jones drawing, but he was kind of playing off a drummer. So we had Tim Brunidge's drumming in here, 3-hour durational drumming session. And I think that really kind of drew a crowd from everyone passing by, going from the venues up Enmore Road down to King Street. It kind of really drew a crowd, which was awesome. If you're a drawer, you know Locust, because Locust is a bit of a foundation rock of drawing in Australia. So when we kind of got Locust on board, what we were thinking about is, if we're going to open a drawing space, how can we open it and be very clear that this is drawing, this is about drawing? And so that's why we chose Locust, because it's so clearly about the process of mark making and the kind of ephemerality of drawing. So that's why we chose Locust. Locust has this performance practice, but he also has a regular drawing practice. With his performance work, he works with Tim Brunidge's, who's a drummer, and so they do these performances occasionally. This bigger work that we have here is from a performance at the Art Gallery of New South Wales. So he did that with 2 drummers, I think, for that one. It's really beautiful because the drawer and the drummer are kind of playing off each other, and the drummer is driving the energy, and you can see Locust going, amp it up, and then he'll take it down. So it's really a lovely collaborative thing that goes on between them. It was awesome.
Yeah, I love that you presented new work with old work. And how do you think it's just interesting, even in the sense of opening up a new space. with the work that was made in a very well-established institution. And it's interesting to hear that you talk about Otis playing off with a drummer, and it's almost like you guys are playing off with the beat from Art Gallery New South Wales as well. It's interesting just to see just the difference in the form.
Yeah, initially we were thinking of starting, curatorially with Locust, we were thinking of starting off with a white space. It's very drawing, you know. And he was going to just build it up from the white space. But then when he brought in his previous drawings, it's such a privilege and a pleasure to present work like that. We couldn't not. So we decided, we'll have both of these works. I love the way one's low and one's high, so it really kind of changes the experience of the space too, which is great. Locust is quite an experienced drawer, he's obviously a very well-established artist, but I think as we move forward we'll be presenting kind of more, focused on presenting more emerging artists.
So the exhibition coming up is a materiality show which focuses on, I guess, the foundation of drawing, but expanding upon that and how artists, particularly that are associated with the National Art School and having that foundational ability to study art making and the idea of the mark, but expand that through art practice in time or through the different experimental forms that our practices take on from at this point. So I think there's maybe 10 artists that are emerging, maybe a few more that are coming to the show for August and September, and a lot of us are already kind of in the same realms of experimentality and thinking about ecology and the way that directly relates to our practice. So we're excited to be in a space like this because it gives us that time to reflect on what we're all collectively thinking and we're all making about as well. So it's a really great opportunity, and I think a lot of us are really excited to do that together.
It's great to have a space that expands upon the principles of the National Art School. It's the drawing school, you know. It's built on the pillar of the line and drawing and seeing through space through that representation, and it's so much of it is built around a drawing practice as a foundation to learning how to see and position yourself via what's in front of you through the drawing mark. What is the I don't know if you have backgrounds or teach or study or have within the National Art School, and how do you think that forms the practice of opening up this space and continuing the lessons that you have taught and teach?
At the opening I had lots of conversations with artists who were really happy to hear about a drawing space and made comments like, I must get back to drawing, or drawing seen as that foundational mark making sort of very primal and direct expression as an artist. And you can see you put so much that is individual, but you can also use it as not just a medium, but a means of expanding what the medium and the practice and your materials can be, from a simple engagement like this, which is just the sort of black marking on white paper. It can be so much more. It can incorporate textiles and incorporate colour and movement, and we've had music and all sorts of other aspects can be brought into it.
So I come from an engineering background as an industrial designer before I did my undergraduate at Sydney and then my master's at NAS. So my interest in drawing that I'm hoping to explore in this space is inviting choreographers and body-based practice and exploring how movement is drawing. Also collaborating with architecture, architects and the School of Architecture at UTS perhaps, and exploring the way kind of architecture, design, engineering use drawing, and where the interface of that is with contemporary art. I'm kind of really thinking about this space curatorially from a more kind of expanded drawing practice, less from a representational practice. But what's nice about the people on the board is that they come to drawing from all different angles.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this whole space exists to expand the definition of drawing and to really sort of create a conversation about what drawing is and what it can be. And, you know, we're just going through a process at the moment of developing a program, and I think we're sort of through until about March next year. And we've got some really exciting shows coming up. I mean, Chrystal's talked about the materiality show, but you know, later this year we've got a fantastic show with a whole group of artists, for example, who all work with textures. So lots of really, you know, and we'll have a big table down the middle of the space with a whole lot of textures, because we're also interested in, you know, really engaging with the community and creating opportunities for people to come in and actually make drawing as well. So, you know, I mean, we've all got, you know, different sort of visions for what drawing can be, and this space is an opportunity for us to sort of express that through, you know, as curators, as artists, as writers. You know, we're really about sort of just thinking about those boundaries that exist and sort of pushing them out a bit and having a conversation about that.
And so fitting that the first show was spilling out on the street.
Totally.
Sonically and visually. Nothing better than the picture of the opening when you've got the crowd out and take it from the street font, it's spilling.
It was packed.
It's like, alright, like, ticket of approval, success.
We can't contain it, I'm afraid.
Outside the white cube.
Absolutely, we spilled right out there.
But what a thrilling feeling, right? You put this effort in, and it's exciting, like you said, it's an opportunity.
Yep.
Like, and it's amazing what you can do when you put a foot in the door and you open up a space and we go, well, we've got this for a year, 2 years, we've got 12 shows, we've got 100 possibilities and artists to go with it. It's like, what can you achieve in like 4 walls and a floor? It's similar to when we started this project with Dither. With, you know, first I went, I'm building a phone up, and then you go, oh, it's so much more. You know, to be able to like have it as just a space in which to platform everything else. Like, you know, it's one thing to show people where art is, but who makes art? Who are these people doing these spaces? And, you know, you mentioned before, it's like, well, all artists, and we're just going to do something new and figure it out on the run.
I think
we're figuring it out.
Totally, making it up as we go along. But I think it's also about sort of democratising drawing, because it's not just artists who draw. You know, I mean, I'd love to have a show that is phone doodles, you know, so when people are on the phone and they're drawing, you know, lots of people draw. Anyone who designs or makes or builds or creates will draw. They may not think of themselves as an artist, but, you know, even when you write a shopping list, like it's a personal expression of, you know, who you are, aside from the stuff that you buy at the supermarket. You know, it's, you know, the way that people write is a personal form of self-expression. It's a kind of drawing. So I think it's also about encouraging everybody to think of themselves as being somebody who draws, you know, sort of really broadening out the conversation. Obviously, we're going to talk to lots of artists. There have been lots of them that have come in already. There was a guy in here this morning, you know, wanting to sort of find out when he could put his work up. But, you know, I think it's also about other people who don't think of themselves as artists, who might be architects or engineers or town planners, or, you know, but everybody uses drawing in some way in their lives.
Yeah. I was talking to Chrystal before and she asked if I still have a practice at the moment. I said I was solely dedicated to this right now. But it's true, and it's like bringing back a sensitivity to the gesture in people's everyday lives. I mean, me working at a restaurant at the moment, you know, just crossing off the dockets, you know, or even just writing to-do lists. I've seen, it's a cross between poetry and a sort of expressive drawing.
This one.
That's enough to get my kicks.
It's interesting how you say different people use drawing, think about drawing in different ways. Like the second show that we're having after Locust is Tanya Lou Smith, and she's a performance, she has a body-based practice, and she's a photographer, and she has never really thought of her practice as drawing. And we said to her, well, we gave her the provocation, how is your practice drawing? And so she's gone away for 3 or 4 months and developed a whole new body of work around, how is moving my body through space a form of drawing? And so, I'm really excited by those kind of propositions where you're getting people to think about drawing in a different way, which doesn't mean we're not also thinking about video and movement and, you know, painting.
and I think what's really great about drawing is it's all about ideation. So that formation of an idea and that ability to write or draw a little foundational spark that broadens the horizon of what your work was or what you see your work to be. And I think a lot of the artists that are coming together for materiality are sculpture based or not necessarily see themselves as artists that draw, but that, again, going back to that ideation or speculation and having the freedom to speculate on ideas that we're coming to as artists, and that not necessarily build a drawing but build a body of work later down the track. So, and I think this space gives you the freedom to do that as well.
I like that you use the word speculation because I want the artist to feel like they can try something new and totally fail, and that's totally okay.
Like a lab.
Yeah.
Like a drawing lab.
Yeah. And drawing is something we do as kids, it's the first thing you generally do, pick up a pencil. But I love that idea that it's not taken for granted. And someone said the word proposition, it's like how can we do it again? What does the relationship look like when you invite artists to work with the space? You mentioned you talk about, you have a conversation about what could take place. You set up almost like a prompt for this artist.
The prompt. Well, I'm thinking about a show that I'm curating early next year, which is actually thinking about it is probably more of a contracted definition of drawing, because I've been living in Japan for the last few years, and I've met a group of Japanese artists and proposed a show around the idea of the rules you set aside to draw by when you've got limited space and you want to just really dig deep into one particular medium. So, for instance, one of those artists starts drawing with a sharpened pencil and then keeps the line going, and as the pencil bluntens, he just produces these beautiful, very, small, contained, lovely drawings. Another one uses, he's got a protest going against TEPCO around nuclear power use in Japan. So he underpays by 1 yen every bill and then collects all the bills and has an assemblage on the wall. So he's using ink on paper, the other one's just a pencil on paper. So in that way, it's very constricted and defined. But I thought this is a nice space to bring work from another culture over here and show them. Perhaps more of a traditional gallery show, but if you wanted to say more about engagement with the space in the work.
I think it's interesting that you're doing a show on rule-based drawing, because process is fundamental to drawing.
Yeah, and it's a way to keep drawing. If you have some rules, it's a way where you can just sit down and you don't think too much before you start.
Yeah, drawing has some key characteristics that are slightly different. They're not. They're also in other forms. They're not only in drawing. They're not exclusive to drawing, but that drawing does have some key characteristics, and one of them is being very process-oriented. So it's more about the doing of it than the outcome. So that's something that, a show like Lisa's highlights, whereas other shows might choose. So in terms of the curation and how we present shows, there are 6 of us on the board, and we all take a curator's hat at a certain time, and we'll drive a particular show and work with the artists in different ways. So whoever the curator is will work with the artists in their own format and in their own way. And so the materiality show is with Daniel Press. Daniel's PhD candidate over at UNSW. And so he's curating that show, and he's also curating the Texture show, I think. Yeah.
And a very cool show that's sort of like a fabricated drawing that looks at artists who use sort of 3D printing to create works that are sort of defined as drawing. So yeah, there's some really interesting things coming up. In September, we've got an artist working in the space who uses machines to make drawings. So, and he'll have those machines working in the space. There'll be sort of little robots that draw onto the floor and all kinds of stuff, So it's going to be really diverse. Absolutely, there'll be some very different experiences to be had in here. Too. And I'm fully expecting people to walk in and say, "That's not drawing."
Yes.
But that's what we want,
That's
you
the
know.
North
That's
Star.
it. When I hear that, I know we've won.
Then you'll need to aim higher next time.
Yeah. So this was an extraordinary performance, but this is quite digestible, I think, as drawing.
Yeah.
You know, it was a real gift and a privilege to be able to sit here for 3 hours and watch this being made. But it is what people anticipate drawing is,
Sure.
I expect.
Yeah.
So we're going to be doing things that are probably, you know, quite different to this over the months ahead.
Yeah, it feels like an approachable space to start this gallery project in, but also to like begin to lead into some of the ethos behind where it's heading. It's almost like a teaser.
Yeah, it's like this space is like a conversation, and so I think you have to start a conversation with what's obvious, not obvious, but what's clear.
What's understood.
Yeah, what's understood. So starting with Locust allows us to make that mark in the ground, like this is drawing,
Yeah.
and now we're going to move on.
Yeah.
But there's one thing that this space offers that I think is going to be a benefit to some of the artists that come and exhibit, and that is we're going to be doing large-scale projections here that will be visible 24/7 on Enmore Road. And so I really like that idea that someone can be driving past it, you know, a shift worker at 3 o'clock in the morning and go, oh, stop and just look at that. Oh my God, what is that woman doing? So yeah, I love the idea that we're going to be able to present, you know, experimental contemporary art, ground level on Enmore Road, 24/7. Yeah, I'm so looking forward to when we can start to do that.
I just wanted to go back to your first point, which was about drawing centres around the world.
Yeah.
So I think the other thing that it would be fantastic if we could do, and we're hoping to do it in 2024, is to have a sort of a drawing symposium or a panel discussion here where we can include conversation from other people who draw and other drawing centres around the world. We haven't yet worked out exactly how that's going to happen, but you know, it'll have a lot to do with sort of live streaming and, you know, posting the outcome on, you know, online afterwards so that people can watch that. So that's, we'd also like to be part of that bigger, you know, sort of global conversation about what drawing is.
Yeah, there's a show with a Japanese artist.
Yes, Hiraku Suzuki, who does amazing drawing. That, you know, we're going to be you know, a bit of a live stream with him in September. So it's building bridges really, I think, and widening out that conversation.
Yeah, getting the foot in the door. And that's a beautiful thing about the online space. It does open up that possibility for a scale, like for who could be included and have access to a conversation. And I love the recognition that you're on Enmore Street, and it's got such a busy thoroughfare. A lot of galleries are tucked away up the back or just not so obviously recognisable from a street front. I also thought it was really interesting what you said about the truck drivers come through at 3 a.m. and they have access to see something going on. It makes me think of someone the other day said, there's no late night food in Sydney. Like and there's a significant portion of the population who works hospitality and there's nothing good to eat after a certain time. And it's not that late, especially in Sydney, you know. But then it just makes me think of like a demographic or people who can view or have access to art and opening up a space that offers whether it's a temporal thing outside the gallery hours or a space that doesn't operate like the other ones do. We've been sort of coming into a few of these questions too. We did that we're going to be opening up a space ourselves.
Awesome.
So good. Similarly on the thoroughfare will be on Illawarra Road.
Maybe you should do a pop-up in here.
Damn right, I hope we could do an exchange. And I bring this up in the conversation because we equally are like, okay, what does it what can it do?
I really like the idea of collaborating with other formats. So doing something online and physical at the same time, collaborating with, you know, some of the different schools, some of the different disciplines. I'm hoping we might be able to get something started with Critical Path and the movement body-based practice people, and just interested in collaborating with all sorts of people about what they think about drawing.
There's a lot of great ARIs in this area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd be really cool to be able to sort of have concurrent shows that perhaps address the same themes.
Yeah.
So
And I think it's important too now that, a lot of the artist-run spaces are moving out to the inner west. They're not in a concentrated CBD or central area. They're physically, geographically, quite far apart, and opening up spaces in which to continue this interconnection and interdependence, because it can be a tough thing to do stuff by yourself, and to recognize that we're not alone and starting new projects and to help off each other. And I think in the same sense also the institutions in which we work out, the art schools, and finding ways in which to bridge the spaces of academia with the artist practice with the street front. Because I think we'll be better for it.
Yeah.
I think when we leave institutions like that, especially NAS, you feel as an artist you've all got your survival jobs, and then you're out there trying to make art and make money to survive as well and buy materials and things like that. Yes. And so all of this, yeah, absolutely. And all of the kind of material rigor that you have and conceptual rigor that you have slowly starts to erode, because you haven't got that base anymore. You're kind of floundering in the community, especially coming out of COVID. But now we see this emergence of spaces like Draw Space, which are kind of bringing us back together and continuing that conversation.
That community.
Absolutely, which we find really, really refreshing and really exciting too. So, can I ask a question?
I talk too much, honestly.
No. I wonder, are you going to open up your programs in the future to others that are not a part of the exact curatorial team or direct curatorial team to propose exhibitions, or are you going to keep it in-house for yourselves?
So, I mean, at the moment, I'll get you to answer this too. At the moment, because it's sort of early days, we're, as a group, approaching artists. That's how we're sort of, we're just getting our first 6 to 12 months sort of established. Mm-hmm. So, but I think that there will be a process once we develop a reputation and people come to understand what this space is for. I do anticipate that people will approach us. And obviously, as a group, we're open to sort of, expanding as well, and, just welcoming in people who have other expertise. We all have different backgrounds and different sort of skills that we've brought to this sort of whole exercise. But yeah, we're certainly open to that. People on the team, but also just the way that we sort of, we curate it or we sort of program the space. Yeah, that will evolve over time.
I think it was a model so that we could almost just emerge fully formed with a program.
Yeah.
And then from there, it will become probably a lot more, if it doesn't feel open, it should be.
Yeah, we don't want it. I agree. You don't want it all nailed down. Yeah. We sort of we are trying to keep it loose, I guess, because you also want to be responsive and open to opportunities as they arise. You don't want to be so sort of pinned down with a program that you sort of say, well, how does 2 years' time sound? No. You want to be able to do things and sort of be fairly nimble in terms of how you respond.
Seems like a healthy way to do it, though, to establish yourselves as a particular type of space that you want to nourish for the future, and then allow.
I think the vision is critical. Everybody has to understand the vision and to stay aligned with that. I think that's really important that we understand that. But then outside that, we want to be, as a group, really democratic and have lots of really robust, interesting conversations, so that we're, challenging each other and expanding our own skills and our own understanding. This is a huge learning curve for all of us as well, trust me. Yeah, huge.
I think if someone came up and just presented us with a proposal today that was like, that's awesome, then just go. So I don't think the door isn't closed to proposals, but as long as they understand what the aim of the space is.
Yeah. It's on the website.
Yeah.
Drawspace.org. Seriously, we wrote a short vision statement for that reason. Yeah, we really did. Not a whole lot of waffle. It's clear. So, people just need to go and have a little look at that, have a think about whether or not their practice is experimental drawing, and then come and have a chat.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's because there are a million things you could do, right? If we wanted to. It's an interesting challenge to create a program that facilitates and structures intuition, and then they not be proposing things, and that you can do things within a guideline that allows for expanded possibilities within that vision you talked about.
It'd be great to get some young curators or some new, emerging curators to come and put proposals in.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, we are all artists with practices ourselves. So, we're not doing this to become gallerists as such.
Sure.
That's not our ambition.
Yeah.
We're doing this because, I told you it's a way of giving back. But, for all of us, it's also a way of connecting with other artists and exchanging ideas. Yeah. And we're developing our own appreciation of, what drawing is and how, and it all feeds in. I mean, we all learned so much from Locust. Yeah. Even watching him work, the energy and the effort that he puts in is just, I found that so inspiring. I really did. I just thought I got to hold my graphite differently.
Yeah. So thank you for this morning and having us here.
Pleasure.
Thanks for the questions.